I'm Captain Getup, the Truth Crusader.
They believe they're untouchable.
They're very influential in the conservative side of politics.
I do think they have form when it comes to misleading information.
Loud, brash and in your face. Advance Australia is a conservative lobby group that knows how to grab attention. Launched in 2018 and backed by wealthy donors, it's inserted itself into election campaigns. And now it's emerged as one of the most prominent groups campaigning against an Indigenous voice to Parliament.
There are organisations forming for the Yes campaign, and we know there are, I think, fairly controversial organisations like Advance Australia forming and running the No campaign.
Advance Australia first campaigned against Zali Steggall when she ran against former PM Tony Abbott in the seat of Warringah.
In my experience, Advance Australia has form in running very divisive and fairly misleading campaigns in a fairly underhanded way as well.
At the last election, Advance Australia put out signs depicting Zali Steggall and independent David Pocock as Greens candidates. The Australian Electoral Commission found the ads were misleading and breached electoral laws. The Australian Federal Police is still investigating.
To date, I would say there hasn't really been any major consequences.
Advance Australia declined to be interviewed, but told 7:30 it took down the ads when asked and has not heard from the AFP. Independent Heather Holmes-Ross is another who's been targeted. She was running for Parliament in South Australia last year when Advance Australia labelled her the mayor who killed Christmas.
I was absolutely devastated. I couldn't understand how it was okay for a group to say things that were so untrue and for me to not have any recourse at all.
The Electoral Commission wrote to Advance Australia asking it to take down the misleading material and publish a retraction. It did neither.
I think that says that they believe they're untouchable. They're beyond the reach of the Electoral Commissioner.
A referendum in any country is a very important moment. It's really important that there is accurate information out there. Accurate information and the ability for people to make informed decisions bolsters our democracy.
Sushi Das is the Assistant Director of RMIT University's fact-checking unit. It's partnered with Facebook's parent company, Meta, to flag misinformation on the company's platforms.
So once we've rated something as false, we publish the fact check on the RMIT Fact Lab website, and Meta, using its technology, can then either grey out the post or downgrade the post or attach a warning to the post and allow users to be directed to the actual fact check article.
In December, Advance Australia paid for a series of online ads suggesting the Voice would unfairly favour Indigenous Australians.
So in Australia, we'll have one race of people with special rights and privileges handed to them with all the power of the Constitution.
We spoke to some of the country's leading constitutional and legal experts, and in their view, the proposal for the Voice to Parliament did not confer any rights on anyone, much less special rights on anyone.
RMIT's fact-checkers found the claim, which appeared in 98 ads, to be false. Facebook data shows the ads gained 2.2 million audience impressions. The number one audience was Queenslanders over the age of 65. In a statement, Advance Australia said,
RMIT's interpretation of the effects of Labor's proposed constitutional change is flat out wrong.
My message is stop interfering with political processes.
Indigenous businessman and former government advisor, Nyungai Warren Mundine, describes the fact-checker's decision as overkill.
The most important part is Australians are not idiots. People are not idiots. We do not need to have an arbitrator of truth, because that's what you're actually talking about.
Advance Australia regularly quotes Mundine, His statements were not flagged by RMIT fact-checkers.
So, as far as you know, does Advance Australia have a problem with publishing misleading statements?
No, I don't think they do. I think some of these bodies have problems. They think the Australian public is stupid and they don't trust them.
There are people out there that are using misinformation to try and confuse Australians. I think that they're doing that purposely. They understand that confusion is our greatest enemy in this campaign.
Thomas Mayo is a long-time campaigner for a voice to Parliament. He's concerned Australians are being misled about the proposed body.
It merely gives us a greater chance to advise the government so that they can get things right. The government or the Parliament still decides the laws and policies, which includes how the voice will work and what it will look like.
Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott criticised the fact-checkers' decision on the Advance Australia ads, which he said were perfectly accurate.
This attempt by big tech to censor one side of the argument, I think, is all part of the profound unfairness.
Tony Abbott didn't mention that he serves on the Advisory Council of Advance Australia. He did not respond to questions from 7:30. Advance Australia told 7:30 it has no political affiliations and has criticised the Liberal Party on policy. However, the group regularly promotes the messages of coalition MPs in its online posts.
Why should I, as an Indigenous Australian, be governed under a separate entity than the rest of Australia?
Coalition Senator Jacinta Nanpijinpa-Price, an opponent of The Voice, was a spokesperson for Advance Australia before entering Parliament last year.
It's wrong, and the last thing we should be letting into our schools.
A major donor to Advance Australia is Simon Fenwick, who also donated a total of $280,000 to the Liberal Party between 2018 and 2019. Fenwick is a director of the Institute of Public Affairs, a libertarian think tank which is advising Advance Australia on its campaign against The Voice. In a statement, Advance Australia told 7:30,
Advance will always campaign according to the rules, but will protest forcefully when they are applied unfairly. Advance is not affiliated to any political party and will work with any politician who shares our goals of advancing Australia's freedom, security and prosperity.
Zali Steggall has introduced a bill to ban misleading political ads, which she says needs to be passed before the referendum. The federal government has said it aims to pass truth in political advertising legislation later this year.
I think this is something that should be acted upon now. There is opportunity. The question is finding that political will to do it now where it matters before the referendum and not leaving such a big question open to misinformation.